G'day guys, it's Paul from Polyman Astro and welcome to another 5-Minute Friday. Now I realise this one's quite niche. It's about how I use the Stream Deck to help streamline my PixInsight workflow a little bit. I kind of became interested in it when I saw Sasha from View into Space use a loop deck to simplify some of his PixInsight workflow. I think he got sent that for possibly free. So Elgato, if you're listening, I'm here. Now, as I said, I realize this is niche. Not everyone has a Stream Deck or has any interest in getting one. I have one for my video editing here on Polyman Astro, so I thought I may as well use it. So this is my Stream Deck's main screen. You can see a whole heap of icons here. The first two here are for my video editing. So the first one opens up and starts Polyman Astro Studios. And the second button here is for Premiere Pro, where I do all my video editing and has shortcuts in it. The one we're interested in today is PixInsight, and it has the PixInsight icon on it. So if I click on that, then it takes me into the PixInsight kind of workspace that I'm working on. The first button's my home button here, which takes me back to that main screen, PixInsight again. And then I have a list of icons here for running PixInsight. The first one here is the startup icon, and if I click on that, then on my left screen of my dual screen setup, it'll start PixInsight. And on the right side, it starts up AstroBin for a little bit of inspiration, and it starts up Spotify with some music as well. These four remaining buttons open up things inside PixInsight itself. So you'll notice this first button here says linear, and it's got a grey image in the background. That's for when I'm working with mono images, usually my narrowband images. It'll open up some icons for me. The linear with the RGB colors, that's for when I'm working with RGB data, either one-shot color or my mono data, but I want to do some RGB imaging rather than narrowband. And then there's a button for non-linear, so that'll open up some tools that are useful for when I'm working non-linear. And of course, FPU with my little icon there will open up my 4X palette utility for me. So I'll demonstrate that for you now. If I click on the linear button, then you'll see some icons appear on the right. And if I click then on the non-linear, right underneath it nicely are the non-linear icons that I'll be working with. So GHS, LRGB, and some sharpening tools maybe. And of course, if I click on FPU, then that opens up 4X palette utility. If I clear all that off, I know I did things out of order, but this RGB button basically opens up the same icons as the linear, but it also opens up SPCC as well. Now you're probably wondering why this is time saving. Well, if I click on SPCC now for you, then you actually see it opens up with my filters already set up and my camera already set up. So that saves me a bit of time there. Similarly, if I open up the MLT sharpening in the nonlinear, then you'll see that it has already set up the bias for me to do my sharpening. And even if I open up something as simple as range selection there, you'll see it's already got my usual settings for the smoothness and fuzziness already set up for me. So it is a time saver. Okay, so now that we've seen what the Stream Deck can do for me, let's have a look at how these icons here work. And they all basically work the same way. They're what's called a multi-action. So you can see my whole Stream Deck app here. So these are the buttons and what they look like on my physical Stream Deck. And down the right-hand side here are a whole heap of options that I can choose to run on my Stream Deck. And we're only going to use a few of them, and they kind of come default with the Stream Deck. So the linear options and the non-linear options are all using a really simple command, and it's underneath the system commands here. It's called open, and all that's going to do is it's going to open a file. So if I drag that in here, just the open command, then I can give it a name and I can choose where that file is located. Okay, so I'll delete that because I've already got it set up. So here is the linear option with its open command. So I've called it linear mono, and here is the file. It's in my D drive. I have all my icon sets in a specific spot, so they're easy to find. And that icon set's called linear mono. And the same idea is happening for the linear RGB as well. And the same thing's happening for nonlinear. all they're doing is opening up a specific icon set that I've saved on PixInsight. The advantage of that, as you saw, is that it actually saves all their data as well, so that when I open up SPCC, it's already using the correct filters and camera. The startup is exactly the same. It's also going to be opening things, but it's what's called a multi-action, and that's found down here. You might not have all these other options showing up, so you might not have to search through them all, but multi-action, if I drag that on, then what that means is I can run multiple things at the same time. So I can run multiples of those open commands that were up here under this system menu. So the first thing it does is run an open command to open up PixInsight. So I need to find where the PixInsight application is, and it's usually under PixInsight bin. It then opens up Spotify, same idea, finds that Spotify exe file. Then it waits for a second. So under that multi-action down the bottom here is an option for a delay. And all that's doing is basically just waiting to make sure that the thing really did open. And it's only a short delay just to make sure that Spotify did open. And then it sends to hotkeys, this option here. And all that's doing is once Spotify is open, it sends Spotify the space key, which plays my music, and then it sends it Control M, which minimizes the window, keeps it out of the way. And once it's done that, it opens up AstroBin. Now this one was a bit more challenging because by default, when you choose the website option here, it opens up its own browser basically, and I want to open up Chrome. So the only way I could work out how to do that on Windows is to create my own little bat file, which is a one-liner. It just says start Chrome and go to this website. So it's a bit of a nuisance. I don't think Mac users have to worry about that. But all in all, it's just opening up exe files and sending hotkeys to them so that everything works. FPU is a bit more in-depth. So again, it's a multi-action. So what I want to do when I'm inside PixInsight and I click this button, then it opens up the Process Explorer on the left-hand side by using the hotkey Control-Alt-P. I then have to wait a second to make sure that that really did open. It doesn't have to be long, but there was a little bit of a delay there. And then I have to send the tab key twice. And what that does is it moves me to the search bar inside the Process Explorer. And once I'm there, then I can open up 4x palette utility. For some reason, I guess I started with dynamic crop when I first set it up, but I want it to actually open up 4x palette utility. So this is the actual text it's going to type in. So here's the text option here. I drag that in. It's going to send that text to that search bar, and then it's going to press enter. And that way it opens up 4x palette utility, as you can see here in action. Okay, so as a final step, let's go through and I'll show you how you would open up a specific process, like let's say dynamic background extractor, just as I've set up for FPU here. So we need to set up a multi-action, drag that on, and then we need to send a hotkey, and let's give it a meaningful name. This is Process Explorer. And the keys for that are Control-Alt-P. And in PixInsight, that'll open up that Process Explorer tab. We then need to wait. So we need to go back down to the multi-action and choose delay. And it doesn't have to be very long, 100 milliseconds is fine. So I'll just call that wait. And then back up here, I'm just giving them names so that when you come back to them, you know what they are. Okay. Then we need to send the tab hotkey twice. So tab 1, and then tab 2. And when I click in here, by the way, the hotkey, it just waits for you to press a button. So I just press tab. Okay, so it sends the tab key twice. I then need to send text, and that text needs to be dynamic background extraction. Notice the capitals for naming things in PixInsight. And I need to click on this press enter after message button. Okay, that's important. So let's call that DBE. And then the final thing is I have to send a final hotkey, which is enter again. Okay, now that is all set up, ready to go. The other thing that we might want to do is set up an icon, as I've done up here. So if I click on this little arrow button, set icon from file, I need to navigate to where PixInsight is. So under the C drive, program files, scroll down to PixInsight. You'll need to work out how to do this for a Mac. I'm using Windows here. We need to go to the resource folder, icons, and then it depends whether you're wanting to use a script or a process. So dynamic background extractor is a process, whereas Forex palette utility was a script. So under modules, background modelization is where you'll find dynamic background extractor, or if you wanted to do ABE, and open that up. It's now got an icon. Okay, so if I now press that button, then it will go through the process and it'll open up dynamic background extractor, just as we expected. All right, so a niche one today, but if you've got a Stream Deck, then maybe you'll find this useful. Anyway, thanks for watching.